I love it. I love it. Living for music. That's who we are. All right. So I see some new faces. So I'd like to welcome you to I Wonder You 40. Hello. And I am extremely excited for this particular roundtable. I have so much love for every single person who will be up here. And we've been together since 2017 when we did our first roundtable discussion around the 30th anniversary of Sign of the Times. I will never forget that day. It was very special to me because no one was talking about Sign of the Times during the 30th anniversary of Sign of the Times, and I was like, what the F? And I do not curse. And I was like, in my small corner of the world, I'm gonna send out a bat signal to Prince, wherever he is, to let him know that we love him and we love Sign of the Times. So this began a journey that I wasn't expecting to go on. I thought it was going to be a one and done. And I just so appreciate, we call them, it was the 4 core, now it's the 4U crew, plus 1 music snob, and we've been together. This will be our 11th time together, actually our 12th time, because I don't count the first panel as a symposium. So this will be our 12th time together. The 11th symposium and 12th time together, and I do not take it for granted. Elliott is coming all the way from Minneapolis, which is insane, and Elliott is extremely busy. So I'm so happy, as my mom would say, he penciled me in. And then we have 1 music snob all the way from Arizona, Arthur Turnbull. And then we have Zaheer Ali, all the way from Jersey. And then we have the one and only, there will never be another, Anil Dash, which I am grateful for. So we're gonna get started with our conversation. And with all these conversations, we usually decide like who's gonna moderate the conversation. And I feel like since day one, Miles was like, I'm moderating Parade. So that wasn't a question. I knew that it was going to be Miles, and we're totally fine with that. So, yes, we're totally, yes. Yes. So when you're ready, come on down. Choose the seat of your choice. We got 1 white seat, and then just hit the button on the mic. And for the first time, we actually have 6 mics. So I'm very excited about this possibility. I'm gonna sit next to Miles. And when do you want to play these clips? Sooner or later?
We're gonna play them sooner.
Okay.
Let's please start out with the D'Angelo.
Okay, let's start with that. All right, let me go back and make the sound, because I turned the sound down a little bit. Okay, all right, we're gonna start with the and
that Desert Island, baby. What's the album you got to have?
Parade. Prince and the Revolution, Parade. I'm sorry. That's it. Damn! Look, I'm sorry, man. I know. But that's the one. Parade.
Okay, all right.
Eric loves you.
Okay, how about this?
do you want me to play it one more time, or that's enough?
No, that's enough.
Okay.
So in the very beginning, first of all, welcome.
Yes.
Glad you're here. Thank you, D'Angelo, for giving me the keys to the car this time around. You got we got people online. Racking the car. All right, hold on. Am I on?
Yes.
Yes. So, yes, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be moderating. This is definitely a favorite album of mine. For those of you who don't know, I spent 7 years in Paris, and part of the whole reason why I went in the first place, and my concept of what France is, comes from listening to this album and probably Sting, Dream of the Blue Turtles, that whole thing, Bring On the Night, that happened in the mid-'80s, right? Yeah. Glad to be here. Welcome, everyone. So by a show of hands, this is a very personal question. It's going to be a kind of an emo panel discussion. By a show of hands, who has cried listening to Sometimes It Snows in April in their life? Right. Okay.
If you haven't, get out. Come on.
I was like,
I have not cried to Sometimes It Snows in April. Not by Prince. I've cried when, and I didn't even cry, but I really felt it when D'Angelo performed it. Right. I often watch people, and there was a moment where you could tell he was really feeling it, and I felt for him because I felt the same way. But so yeah, that was as close.
yeah, well, that is my first question. Tell me about the first time you cried to Sometimes It Snows in April. I mean, I'll go first because it's a kind of a personal question, and it's, it was the day the record came out, and I was 15, and there was a girl who just broken up with me, naturally, and I think that my parents we were all supposed to go on a trip to Atlantic City or something, and I had it in my head, like, okay, she doesn't want me, so I'm gonna be outside of my comfort zone of the Bronx where I grew up, and we're gonna go on this trip, and I'm gonna have Parade and be able to listen to it. And then the trip got canceled, and so I was just sort of in the four corners of my lonely room. And I was like, all right, well, so at least I got Parade. And I listened to the Parade album, and by the time I got to the end, I just sort of, she left me, she has another friend, and it was just that kind of moment. But then, for those who saw Prince at, what was it, Avery Fisher Hall around 2002, I think maybe you were there and we didn't know each other then or something. I ended up in a conversation with somebody who mentioned Sometimes It Snows to April to me and was like, I cried to that song, as if he was the only person who had ever cried to that song. And I was like, me too. It's like, is this something that is just sort of, every Prince fan has had this experience, It's very touching and it's very moving, and it may have been, I can't say it's the first time I cried to a song. I had probably cried to She's Out of My Life, I was that kid. But Elliott.
This was not what I was expecting this panel to be. So, okay. I mean, you start with D'Angelo, like, funk, and I'm getting ready to talk about funk, and now we're like, first time you cried to that song. All right, so I'm not really a crier, right? So this is just not, it's just not for me. And I had parents who wanted me to cry. Like, my parents were very much like, get in touch with your feelings. Yeah, and I was like, nope. And so for me, God, the first time I cried to it.
Assuming it's happened more than once, I don't know.
It has happened more than once, but the answer is going to, the answer most likely, I might be wrong about the first time, but the time that I remember, have a deep memory of this, was actually before he passed, right? So some people know this, some people don't, but for now 10 years at the University of Minnesota, I've been teaching a class about Prince since the spring of 2016, right? So Prince passed during the class. But for whatever reason, when I was with the class, listening to the album, talking about the film, all of those things, and this was 2016, right? So this is no streaming, you bring the music to class, all of those things. That is the time that I remember having to hold myself from crying in front of the students. Wow. Which happens more now that I teach the class, but that time, for whatever reason, was the time where I was like, oh, something is happening. Can't do this in front of students.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, all right, we're gonna, somehow tried to have to manage around that.
Wow,
but that was that.
Deep.
So even though I haven't cried to Sometimes It Snows in April, I kind of want to say why. So in real time, and Celie is going to probably die laughing. Again, I enter Prince's music through the music and not the lyrics. I read the lyrics 10 years, 20 years later. Like for me, it's, yeah, what are you saying? Yes. Like one of my favorite, I won't go there, but one of my favorite lyrics I thought for decades, he was saying this line in sexuality. It's so wrong, but I was like, I like my lyrics better. So anyway, I thought in real time, I was 15 years old, that sometimes it snows in April was just too darn slow. It was like molasses. Wow. And I saw the film in real time, and I can't remember what my reaction to, like, Christopher Tracy dying in real time, I can't remember, but I just remember I do not like this song. It is too slow. Now, you know, that we're 40 years later, when I listen to the song, I understand, you know, why people cry to it and why it affects people because of the lyrics, you know, primarily. It was very moving to see the revolution, you know, at First Avenue right after Prince passed, actually perform it. And I felt it for them, but I didn't feel it for myself because Prince has always been my happy place. And I go to him for joy, and so sometimes it snows in April never gave me joy. Therefore, I sort of, I have a tendency I can shut myself down from emotions. That's a whole nother conversation. So I've never cried to Sometimes It Snows in April.
Right, interesting. I am so used to preaching to the converted here, so for those that don't know, Prince actually composed this song on a day that decades later he would pass away on, you know, which was, sort of a weird symmetry that Wendy and Lisa confided in everyone after he passed. Next.
Yeah, this is like opening a concert with a ballad.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
You got the
That was
T-shirt.
right, yeah.
You got there early because you wanted to be in the front row, you know.
That was that was my intention. Yeah.
It's sit down time, so your whole evening is totally thrown off. So I've never cried to the song. There's no song on Parade that I don't like. However, when the song would come on, I'm usually back to one, flipping that over and starting off with Christopher Tracy's Parade again. But it does have a special memory and meaning to me because after the Purple Rain tour ended in early 1985, there was an article surrounding the Around the World in a Day press release, and Prince announced that he was retiring from touring for an undetermined period of time. And one of the, some reporter had asked, or, when asked when he would ever come back, Prince said, "Sometimes it snows in April." And I'm like, what is that? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean, And so to see that he has a song, with this title, with these lyrics for this format, referring to the film and the storyline, it's just interesting how these little quirks that he's, in quotes, quirks that he says, have more to do with things that already are in the making, either in his mind or that he's already begun to manifest. So
right.
I think it's a special song. And it's a great album closer.
Right. I mean, another thing he said in that article or interview was, I'm going to search for the ladder. Or
Going to search for the ladder,
which,
right.
Ended up being another song.
I mean, I think for, not to be cliche, but it was on the day that he returned to the source. I actually had to do like a radio interview, and the interviewer asked like, what song, if there's one song that you can pick, and I was like, well, for today, this would be the song, and I had to describe the song, and I could feel the emotions welling up as I tried to explain the song. What's interesting is I actually, and so D'Angela, please don't boot me off the panel. I don't know when I saw Under the Cherry Moon, but it was not in real time.
Right.
It was like many
Reason why I sat between-
years.
Right? I mean, this
So I
the
did not
buffer.
have that film context for the song, which I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because that's
Hold
corny.
it down.
You know, like it would have just been. It just. I'm like, this is a powerful, just song about friendship and loss, and like so beautifully executed, and the pacing. I know it's slow, but like, you know, you hear the squeaking of the guitar. Like that's just like a very like, you know, you're in that space. So. I always was moved by that song. Now, and I this is not in my head as generative AI, but I do either somewhere in my research or in conversations with people who have worked with Prince, I believe there is a demo version of Sometimes It Snows in April that is well before Wendy and Lisa touched it. And I don't know if the lyrics change or if it's the music, but I am fascinated to know what the first version of that song sounded like.
I think he had it as early as 78, 79.
There's some records that says it's very, very early in his career, some version of it. I'm sure I had some like emo feelings about it as a teenager listening to it, but the first time I was very cognizant getting choked up about the song was opening with a ballad. The first time I saw Prince live was at Paisley Park. And my sister and I had driven to Paisley Park when he was doing the Love for One Another shows in hopes there was a show that night. And we had been driving for like 3 days and camped out in front of Paisley Park for like hours. We were exhausted, right? And it's like 2 a.m. And the show started late even by Prince standards, and we didn't know if he was going to play, like all the sort of classic, you know, Prince things. And they couldn't get the screen out of the way on the stage at Paisley, and so like there was a risk like he just wasn't going to play because he's annoyed. And he just came out with his acoustic electric and just started playing. He opened the show with Sometimes It Snows in April, and I'd never seen him play live. And I just lost it. It was just like, this is, and I was just like, that moment, I was like, I will never see anything this good again in my life. You know, and I was right.
I hear you.
I was not right about a lot when I was 19 years old.
That's an amazing moment. Wow.
Yeah, and that one floored me. And the bookend to that was, you know, to your point, D'Angelo, the night that D'Angelo and Princess, you know, did their tribute. I was at the Tonight Show taping. My friend Kevin was a producer on the Tonight Show, and he told me that they were going to be taping, and so we'd come through. My wife and I'd gone to the show, and I mean, it was. We were all still shell shocked. It was only 4 days later, I think, and you know, you could hear a pin drop in the studio, which was not usually the case there.
Right.
And then afterwards, you know. We were sort of getting ready to leave, and then, you know, Amir Questlove had sort of seen us, and he sort of flagged us to come down, and we went. And we're talking to Maya and Gretchen, you know, Princess, and you know, and everybody was just crying backstage, and just getting to, you know, D'Angelo was just like convinced he'd fucked it up. Like he was really heartbroken, just like that.
Deep.
Yeah. That, you know, and he was only there for like 2 seconds, and then he kind of ran back.
Right.
And, you know, really the only thing any of us had sort of said was, that was incredible, and you really, you know, did justice to it. And I'm sure other people talked to him. I didn't really talk to him. But, you know, we were all in tears. You know, that was really it. So that was the sort of 2 times I think the song really got me.
All right, well, back to our regularly scheduled program. What's your favorite song on Parade? I'd love to know what brings you the most joy off of this album.
I can't believe it, Miles. This is Miles' most hated question. He hates this question.
I'm gonna go last.
Are you gonna go last?
Yeah.
All right.
But don't jump after to like your least favorite. Okay. Because there's a middle question.
Okay.
All right.
All
so
right.
What's your favorite
It
song
would be
on the
New
album?
Position.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is also tied to my least favorite, so I'll hold off that section of
All
my.
right.
So, New Position, right? Talking about funk, right? Immediate, hits you, those kinds of things. Right, I've talked about this every time I'm here, right? What is for me, the funkiest record and the one that is actually the most sexual? And it's New Position, right? We have the kind of double entendres happening around spunk. We have the play between sexuality and spirituality, sacred and profane, in terms of the river of life, right? Right, the biblical reference, but also, and so I am like, and I love also the way that it thinks about new positions sonically, right? How it thinks about raising an octave, how it thinks about slowing down, speeding up, giving you as a listener the different kind of positions that you can experience. And, we can think about songs like Darling Nikki that also play with that, right? That there is a slow start, then there's the climax, and then there's the post, right? So we find in New Position a similar kind of play around sex and sexuality, that he's talking about it, and also you can feel it, you can hear it. And so a New Position for me, and again, there's another reason that's tied to the least favorite, that becomes my kind of favorite. That is the one that really gets me into that record.
So my favorite song of the era is not on the record, but that's a whole nother conversation. But on the record, it is Do You Lie. I love Do You Lie. Okay. And the reason why, again, I only knew Do You Lie because I wasn't listening to what he was actually singing. But it was, I love how he would harmonize against himself. And he has such an amazing octave range. And in Do You Lie, he goes really high, really low, and back together. Just that mastery of, so Prince, is the best. We the best in terms of everything, musicianship, his vocals, his dancing, his everything. But people really don't talk about his vocals as much as they should. He is a masterful vocalist. And if I had a dictionary and I had to put in masterful vocalist, in Exhibit A would be Do You Lie by Prince, because it is such a phenomenal display of how much control he had over his voice. His voice was an instrument, and then also just the sonic quality. I'm sure we're going to talk about a Parade. Is so different from anything that he had done before. And I've said this before, if I was E.T. and I dropped out of the sky and I listened to Dirty Mind, and then you play me Parade, I wouldn't think it was the same person. And it really wasn't that far apart, but and part of that is obviously the contributions of Claire Fisher, and the orchestral arrangements paired so beautifully as a match made in heaven of Claire Fisher and Prince on this Parade album. And Do You Lie, even within the context of this different sonic architecture of Parade, is different within the difference, if that makes any sense. Because Prince has not done, there are certain songs that Prince does that he never does again. It's just kind of one of one. The Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Nothing else before or after sounds like the Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Nothing before or after sounds like Do You Lie. And that's when I really love when Prince, there are Prince songs, then there are Prince capital letters songs, and Do You Lie is a Prince capital letter songs, and that means that not one person would have recorded this song but Prince. So that's what I really, really, really love. When I see and I have seen a couple performances of people doing the song, which I really do appreciate, it's just that no one can hit those notes like Prince can. So Do You Lie, Do You Lie, Do You Lie, Miles?
Interesting. I do not. Arthur.
Okay, we're on favorites, right? Okay.
So, favorite.
Now, I actually have two, but gun to my head, it would be "Life Can Be So Nice," and
Wow. Okay.
I am, I play drums, and so I really love it when they're live drum songs, particularly after 1984. I think that the different kinds of breakdowns and arrangements, of that song, was, different. We hear about different a lot when talking about Parade, and the Parade album, Parade is just special. This is special. It sits at this unique position. It's like Parade sits in the valley between two, pardon the pun, mountainous album releases.
Why are you going to try to ease up on my presentation? No.
Hold on, because Africa's divided, and I'm gonna let you have all of that. But the album itself sits in a valley between his most successful commercial release, Purple Rain, and his most critically acclaimed release, Sign of the Times, an agreed upon masterpiece. And I'm not ignoring Around the World in a Day, because chronologically, that's the album that comes in between Purple Rain and Parade. But Around the World in a Day is tied to the Purple Rain era, clearly tied to the era. And Sign of the Time, and Parade is the break. Parade is made by someone who has A1 credit with the record company, has already established himself, and is now able to do what he wants the way that he likes it, and he opens it all the way up. It's the gateway to all of this other music that comes behind it, and it's also the manifestation of Prince as a front man, which is something that he'd been working on for the past 3 years. And you truly see him out front, and he is calling out tunes and calling out changes with the band. We're really seeing that. And that is the version of Prince that extends beyond 1980s, going into Diamonds and Pearls and moving forward. It's just a special album. So Life Can Be So Nice, and I'm dealing with side A and side B when I kind of talk about it, was such a spark. And such of a different groove, such of a different kind of funk that he had already kind of introduced earlier with New Position, that it just grabbed me, and it just continues to hold me, really to this day.
It's so interesting. We're hearing all these different songs, this is like a first.
It is a
for
first.
an album that has like very tight.
Right.
For me, it's I Wonder You.
Okay.
Amazing.
So the thing that I really like about this album, and I mentioned this a little bit with Sometimes It Snows in April, is how Prince uses space and silence and omission, and isn't trying to fill every track, is leaving some voices for you as the listener to fill in, so you become a co-creator of the musical experience, which forms this attachment to the song. Like, the song cannot be experienced without your participation in it, even if you're making up sounds in your head, because he's dropping stuff out. And I think Claire Fisher did like a Red Bull Academy talk and actually played the fully orchestrated version of I Wonder You. And then I appreciated so much more Prince's genius as a producer and editor to say, like, nah, we're gonna take all of that out, right? There's that like synth human voice instrument. The bass is just doing its own thing. Like, this is like a cocktail party with this woman who is like, I really am into you, but I'm gonna act like I'm not. I know the way the vocals are delivered, like, how do you do, what do you say? Just really, like, it just pulls you in. And it is one of those Prince songs that plays with tension and release to an increasing time tempo to a climactic moment. I mean, he definitely knew, it's a short encounter, but he definitely knew short, but he definitely knew how to emulate the rhythms of sex. And I Wonder You starts with this drag and pull, and it gets faster and climaxes. So it's just like a musical gem, and it's short enough that you want to come. You like. I would actually play it over and over and over
Right.
again.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the same. I can't remember us all picking different songs ever.
Right.
Girls and Boys.
All right.
Yeah. So to your point about use of space, the arrangement is extraordinary, right? And there's so many times, like I see so many more casual music fans on social media are always talking about, did you know Prince took the bass line out of When Doves Cry? Which is good. It's great. And and then they'll do Kiss, and then you have that baritone sax, right? And it's hitting, and you have this otherworldly synth line that's like, what planet is that from? And to take those elements, either one of those on its own, and be like, I'm going to put this on pop radio, and people are like, who is doing that, right? At the same time, when everybody had just started to copy the sound he was doing 3-4 years earlier, right? And then put them both in that song, and then it's just funky as hell, right? Like it works as songcraft. Like he could, and he did, play that song on piano, and it works as a composition. So it's not just the novelty of what it sounds like the arrangement is elevating it, but it is also a song that was written. It goes hard as hell. My only lament is that there is no 20-minute, as far as we know, version of that song. Like, please let that be in the vault. But I think, that's there. And then I think the other thing to mention is like the B-sides in this era. Like we're talking about the album, but like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I think the two things I'd say is one is that song, and then the testament of like, we all have different songs on an album this short. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is going to be Sometimes It Snows in April.
Wow.
So, all right, the contrarian is coming out because he's been suppressed long enough. If you have a target, right, and with the bow and arrow, and you're trying to hit the center, right, there's that outer rung of the center that's almost it, but not quite the bullseye. I kind of feel that way about Condition of the Heart. For all the Condition of the Heart lovers out there, I apologize. It's a great song, sure, whatever.
We went through this last year. So we actually agreed for the first time in a very long time.
We are talking about Parade.
So to that point, right, I feel like Sometimes It Snows in April hits the center. Right. Whereas Condition of the Heart almost did, but didn't quite, as Elliott agrees.
I do.
It's just, aside from it hitting me emotionally the way it did the first time I ever heard it, it just, it's emotional. It expresses exactly what he was shooting for, I think. It touches you in a way that he clearly fully intended. It hits the mark. I want to get into this other thing, though.
It does feel like there was a maturation of his songwriting.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Sharper at being able to get that feeling he was going for.
Yeah. So before we get to your least favorite, does Kiss belong on this album?
No.
It's there. So
It gets hit on
somebody
the album.
says it belongs there. No, I think part of it is like it's easy to like argue after the fact, but
I was arguing during the fact.
Let the record show.
But especially again with like the 12-inch versions and all that kind of stuff, I feel like as an era, I love having that composition as part of the era.
You say no, Zaheer?
I'm saying no. So,
Silent.
in real time, when I was a 15-year-old, it stopped the record for me.
Yeah.
It was like, and the thing is, it's still to this day, that scraping sound, I don't even know what it is. I wish someone would break down, like, how is this sound happening? Please make it stop. I think Kiss is obviously really important. It's like one of his, largest singles. I really wish it was like a standalone single. Actually, I would have preferred if it was a B-side, and if Love or Money was actually on Parade, because Love or Money essentially essentially sums up the movie. And Love or Money is my favorite song from the era, because if you had the 12-inch, you could play it on 33 or 45, and I would just like,
You'd be good either
how do
way.
I want to listen to this today?
Right.
And then knowing that Prince was a son of James Brown is so
Right.
James Brown.
Yes.
And like one of the things I loved about the Revolution, especially if you listen to the rehearsals, is that when they lock into a groove, you can live on that groove for a year, forever. And so if you put on Love or Money, I can play that for 365 days a year, and I will never get tired of that song. And so I was like, why is this on this album? Why isn't this a B-side? Yes, commercial people, I know you love Kiss. But like, it really was, even to this day, I go, I don't, and if Prince was here, I would tell him the same thing. I would say, I don't understand. Why did this happen? Can you break this down for us? So, yeah, no. Arthur, take it away.
I feel like Arthur is here going to say yes.
Look, I'm not gonna do the
Or is that no-
revisionist, like, you know, now, like, we are just, that song was necessary for me to enter into the album. Because of where I was in my life, right? As a teenager, because of where music was that I had access to. It was a phenomenal dance track, and I was in the mood to dance, right? It was different. It definitely, I think the extended version makes more sense in the sound of the album, like, you know, the way that he like returns it to that funk.
Right.
But it was that song, and it's one of his best videos. I'm sorry, it is one of his best videos. And for, you know, I was the commercial kid, right? So, because I don't think I really. So this album increased my musical vocabulary, but had it come to me with musical phrases that I did not know or that were not familiar to me, I would have not paid attention to it.
Yeah, this was an incredibly challenging album for a pop.
So I needed Kiss
Right. Like,
as a point of entry.
people-
If it was like a bait and switch, like I got this hot dance record, and then the rest, you're like, wait, what? What's happening right now?
who had picked up Huey Lewis and the News album, and then were like, I'm trying to find me like a 3/4 record that's got some jazzy elements to it. Like, that doesn't exist, right? They need something to come bridge them over. And he also did want to be a commercial artist at that time. And so I think it was, in addition to a song that he felt strong enough about to reclaim, a tool for him to advance his like professional goals, and like, and also like it was a composition that I think like, you know, I think a lot of us have heard that acoustic demo of the song,
Right.
like again held up in its bare form as a composition. Like, it is a, you know, a strong blues track in its core element. Like, and that's the thing that's really important to me, is like his songcraft never compromised. Like, you could dress it in different ways, and that's the thing to me, is that song that good in its barest form.
Yeah.
So that was the best counter that I've ever heard against my argument. So I was serious when I said that there isn't a song on Parade that I don't like. So I
me either.
really wouldn't. So this is
Really?
effectively,
Okay.
you know, the answer to that.
We're totally going to disagree there.
One thing that's interesting, Kiss is an interesting song because as a commercial artist, Prince needed to continue to push through a lot of what was happening currently at the time of release. Janet Jackson's Control had just released.
That's coming.
And also what was coming later, like Anita Baker's Rapture was coming soon after that. And also the advent of hip-hop. In 1986, 3 pivotal events in hip-hop happened. The first one was that Run DMC made the cover of Rolling Stone, which was really the pop/rock elitist world of saying, okay, these guys, all right, we're going to put you out front. We're not going to mention the fact that they completely resurrected Aerosmith's entire career in the process. But now you're on the cover of Rolling Stone. That's thing one. Thing two is that the Beastie Boys' debut album, License to Ill, went #1 on the pop charts. And that was the first time that had ever happened with a rap record. And the third thing was that there was the beginning of Rakim, and that the 12-inch Eric B. for President and My Melody on the side 2 happened. And Rakim changed is just a general word, but you could, and Miles, you can correct me, but you can draw a line from Rakim to Kendrick Lamar, and there are a whole lot of other MCs that come in between.
Absolutely.
So those three things were also happening and moving forward. So Prince with Kiss kept him at the forefront because still no one else would be able to do a song like that. I do agree with D'Angela about it takes you out of took me out of the continuity and the theming of the album. But we know that Prince was very serious about his sequencing. So it was a very intentional inclusion. As an adult now looking back, I see it as an interesting demonstration of Prince making a business decision and maybe not a completely artistic one and having its inclusion on there because there's nothing else on parade really.
I push on the artistic piece though too, right? Because again, I think a lot of us know the story of him reclaiming it from Maserati. Right? Like he wouldn't do that purely for commercial reasons, I don't think.
Well, wasn't there a thing about, oh man, this is too good?
Right, and that narrative of it's too good is an artistic evaluation. And I do think there's also a legacy element, which is like, if you go to a white wedding, what's the Prince song they're going to play? It's Kiss, right? And it might have been 1999, last century, and now it's Kiss. And so there is a part about how do you keep him relevant? I think he was cognizant of that. Right. It's like having a song that can be present of his as a calling card and an entry point into his catalog. And there were not a lot of songs he wrote to be an entry point. He was very intentional about, he would go on the biggest, nighttime talk shows or biggest stages and be like, I'm going to play a B-side, right? He didn't do a lot to be, giving entry points, to be accommodating. Right. Thank you. And this was one of those rare times when he's like, I'm going to give you this way to come to me.
Yeah, I mean, to go to your point, for those who haven't checked out the book that Daphne Brooks just actually released, she co-edited this David Bowie and Prince book. The title has escaped me, but it just came out this month, I believe. Black Star? Yes, it's like Black Star and something. And Purple Rain, is that? Okay, that's okay. Anyway, it's this huge book full of different kinds of essays that's about Bowie and Prince. But actually, Oliver Wang has an essay about Kiss in that and talks about Kiss for him as a DJ. That was the record that he knew that he could rely on to actually bring the party back, right? If it's slow, folks aren't dancing, he knew that Kiss would be that record that could get people on the floor, that could basically re-energize a group. To that point, sure, I agree with D'Angela. I don't think it belongs on the album. I think it takes you out of the album. I also think it takes you out of the film. I don't like it. I don't like it on this kind of on the main page, right? As you said, on the B-side, sure, totally can do this. It could play in the credits. All of those things. I think in the film itself and on the album, it takes you out. It stops it. And it just doesn't work. And
you're saying it's out of character for the album?
I think it's out of character for the album. And and one of the earlier panels, right, you all were talking about how Prince having to have a kind of sort of intimacy coach, right? Because the kissing scenes are so, right? The irony of Kiss in that, is really, a bit too on the nose, right?
But isn't it interesting that the Kiss video, and that's my favorite video too, did nothing to promote the movie?
Right.
Deep. I mean, half of When Doves Cry was like a super cut.
True that. I think they knew by that time of the video. They were kind of.
I'm slow, Anil.
Souls might
I
be
didn't
even
get
then, 'cause
that.
they were like, all right, let's cut our losses.
What was the point? I didn't get it.
I was saying, I think by the time they made the video, they were kind of like, let's just push this.
They knew what they had with Under Cherry Moon.
I will say that I know a lot of people love the Kiss video, but I also don't like the Kiss video.
Tracks. That tracks.
It's pure
Yes.
hateration.
I mean, because, okay, I mean, just for context, I know we're talking about Parade, but I don't think of Parade as standalone. I always think of Parade as the soundtrack to Under the Cherry Moon. I filtered this era through Under the Cherry Moon. I'm wearing this on my shirt, Under the Cherry Moon, all day, every day. As a little kid, when I was like 15, I got the VHS. I recorded it on a cassette tape. I played that every single day. The movie, not Parade. Every single day. My sister, who was 6 years old, I was 15, so she would have been 5. She knew all the dialogue from Under the Cherry Moon word for word because I played it every single day. So when I see Kiss, it did not support Under the Cherry Moon, and I was like, what is going on? It's not in black and white. Right. And then, like, who is this person dancing? It was just, I don't know, it was like a total disconnect for me.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know how he could have done this in real time, but I really wish it was is standalone, like maybe a single in between the albums or something like that. But like, I never think of Kiss when I think of Parade or Under the Cherry Moon, even though it's on the album, because I just see it as like this song over here that was huge and everybody and their mama loves it. But it just like, it's Christopher Tracy, Tricky, Mary Sharon, Isaac Sharon all day, every day, and it just does not fit.
Agreed. Okay.
Not canonical.
Yeah. Tell us how you really feel.
Yes.
I have nothing to add. I agree that it does not fit, and that's why I posed the question. But also for all of the reasons already stated. So, what's your least favorite song on the album? I don't have one, and like we were saying, it's just. I was not even gonna replay this album before doing this talk because this album sort of lines the wallpaper of my mind. Like I've played this album so many times and it meant so much to me during my Wonder years that this album, Sign of the Times, like, that whole 80s era of stuff, I don't need to hear it anymore. Like it would just sort of, but I did play it on the way over here and I enjoyed it. But no, I don't have a least favorite song. No.
Okay. I do. It's not Kiss. I'm wondering if Kiss is going to be yours, but I won't spoil if it is yours.
I almost said Life Can Be So Nice.
Oh, no, really?
Whoa. Sorry.
Whoa. Oh, just.
But no, I love it. I love the whole album.
It's so, okay. I mean, that song is, anyway, mine is Christopher Tracy's Parade.
Okay.
That is my least favorite, and it goes into New Position being my favorite. That's actually how I start the album in my head. Word. Sorry. I don't know what I just said, but yes, Christopher Tracy's Parade, I take out. I think it's busy. I think it's a little cheesy. I don't like, the arrangements are just, it's too much. It's too much to start the album. And I know, right, it's the, soundtrack of Under the Cherry Moon. And it feels like that kind of opening of a soundtrack. It could also, you could make the argument, might seem like a sitcom theme song a little bit too.
Interesting.
So for me, I'm like, this is not how I want to start. And to go to Arthur's point, Arthur, you made a kind of sort of space between Around the World in a Day and Parade, and I see them actually somewhat sort of related. We already talked about sort of Condition of the Heart and Sometimes It Snows in April, but I think my fear when putting on Parade is the same fear that I had in putting on sort of Around the World in a Day. The opening songs for both do not work for me. I talked about this last year. And so I was like, oh no, it's a sequel, right? I was thinking it's a sequel to Around the World in a Day. And then, right, we get to New Position, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank God.
Yeah.
And then I'm fully in. you have now taken my full attention and has captured my full attention for the remainder of the album. Christopher Tracy's Parade does, it gets me. I was like, oh, I have to okay, I'm not gonna be rude. It's a long 2 minutes. It's a long 2 minutes for me. And then I can go into, all right.
Does it remind you of Play in the Sunshine at all? I mean, I don't know why it does for me, but maybe because I feel like Prince sort of has songs that are supposed to serve a certain purpose.
Right.
You know, and so this was the introduction to the album song, and so this is what that is, and then we get on with the funk or whatever the album is really about.
I guess I'll have to think about. I can see what you're saying, but I like Play in the Sunshine more.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Like, anyway. Okay. That is mine.
Next.
So I actually love Christopher Tracy's Parade, but not like love.
Right.
But I agree with you. I never thought it should open the album. And I know that we've talked about, and actually during this roundtable and roundtables past, at how intentional Prince was with sequencing. This is an album where I think he didn't do it as well as it could have been. And I know we're not supposed to question Prince's choices because those were his artistic choices. But I know as a kid, I would skip Christopher Tracy's Parade and start with New Position. And then I would flip it back over and have Christopher Tracy's Parade be my end. So I know some of you guys are just going to leave the room. My least favorite song is Sometimes It Snows in April.
Wow.
And for me, the reason why it's not Kiss is that I don't even think of Kiss in context of Parade. I really don't think about Kiss in context of Parade. I do think of Sometimes It Snows in April in context of Under the Cherry Moon, because when I say Parade, I'm doing the Jill Scott Under the Cherry Moon kind of thing. And so I know it's important to the film, but there are actually other songs in the film, like Old Friends for Sale, that could have been on Parade instead of Sometimes It Snows in April, instead of Kiss and that. And then there are other songs that I just found out about, what I call post-Prince, like, and that says what. You know, like, there's so many amazing songs that he created during this time. And I often, you know, like, if Prince was here, and he probably wouldn't answer, you know, he was like, you know, just take what I give you. But he had so many amazing songs that he left on the cutting room floor during this particular period that Parade could have been so many different configurations. Is kind of mind-blowing at the choices that he had so many choices he could have made in constructing Parade in terms of what is actually in Under the Cherry Moon. So one of my, I'm sorry I'm going off a little bit, but I really wish that there was a proper score for Under the Cherry Moon. And so I kind of wish that there was Parade, the album, and then there was a separate soundtrack for Under the Cherry Moon. And I think they did that with the first Batman movie.
Right. Yeah.
They had Prince's Batman soundtrack, and then they had Danny Elfman's score. And because I'm a movie head, like, I'm really into film scores too. And so, like, a lot of the orchestral arrangements that Claire Fisher did that ended up in the movie, I really wanted that. So I never really saw Parade as a soundtrack a score that I wanted so deeply at that time, because I was so tied to Under the Cherry Moon. But Sometimes It Snows in April in real time was because it was just too darn slow. I couldn't connect to it as a kid. Yes, it's in the film, but I just feel like it's a great way to end the album if you want to. I'm not going to say what I was about to say because some people might take it wrong, but I just, I don't like that song in the context of the album because it's just too darn slow.
So for those of you that have just arrived, this is the 4U crew plus one music snob. But I'll be brief. I really don't have a song on the album that I don't like. I generally listen to it all the way through. I do have a moment where, because of like all the material, where there were 4 single releases from the album, and 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you include the UK.
Okay, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Saying that to say, the third U.S. release was Another Lover, Hole in Your Head on the A side, and there was an extended version of that song. And then on the B side, it was the album version of Girls and Boys. And I was kind of like, why?
Exactly.
No doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I was really I was disappointed with that. I mean, as a fan, but also just as another opportunity to get a release that could be transformed into some very unique product. So a lot of, and then some of the slides that have been going on in the interludes will show that this release was done as a picture disc with the front cover on one side, and you flip it over and you've got the back cover. This was also released as 2 shapes. One was the shape of the triangle and the actual film poster that was done. And one that was really unique was a white label 10-inch single of Mountains, the long version, and Alexa de Paris on the other side, in like a PVC plastic cover with the imprint of the image that was used, for that. And so being into records, being able to get these things from US releases and UK releases, and you had your own shops and things like that. Oh yeah, and I forgot about the release of Kiss that was done that way too. I thought, wow, this was kind of like a missed opportunity, to really do something creative as had been done to kind of continue the cycle so we kind of get like a complete package. Because I think that these kind of unique releases also promoted, the album. But yeah, I got nothing other than bad. I mean,
So, but just really quickly, one of the things that I didn't understand was why Girls and Boys was only released in the UK as a single and not as a single in the US, because I thought that Girls and Boys should be a single. It's actually highlighted in the film.
Talk about the video. Talk about how the video was the only video.
Yes, the only video. Yes. And Wendy and Susanna looked incredible. And I was a huge Family fan. This to me was the second of the Holy Trinity of Claire Fisher and Prince after the Family. So I really loved that video. And so I was so disappointed, Arthur, when I got that 12-inch of Another Lover, Hole in Your Head. And I was like, what?
I activated her.
I was like, what? And so, I think that Girls and Boys should have been a single in the U.S. I don't understand why that didn't happen.
I agree.
I mean, I think this is why, we were fortunate at this time before the national corporate takeover of radio, because I know the black radio stations in DC, WHUR, KISS FM, they were playing Girls and Boys like it was a single, right? And then you had BET, Video Soul, and Video Vibrations, who regularly played the video. For this discussion, there's so many strays being caught. I feel like I just want to throw a bomb in it and just say, my least favorite is Venus de Milo, but that's not true. There's not a song similar to many of you that I don't like, but I'll say a song that I didn't listen to as much, and it's Under the Cherry Moon. Under the Cherry Moon is, for me, what Slow Love is for me for Sign of the Times. And if y'all remember my discussion of Slow Love, it's just, there's nothing special about it. It seems very formulaic. It's just, it wasn't, I mean, coming after I Wonder You, which was just like this mixture of live orchestra and synthesizer and just drag beat, a little bit behind the beat. It was just and then you get under the chair. I was like, I don't want to hear this shit. We're going to move on.
I think musically it's the most conventional composition.
It is the most conventional. I think that's why I was just it is the Slow Love for me of that album.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, to that point musically, I think if you took the lyrics and the vocals aside and you just played the music, you could imagine somebody else playing that music. But for me, the whole album is one composition. And I think different from Sign of the Times, where there are times I played Sign of the Times on shuffle. right? And you could just hear the songs. And there are Prince albums where I have skips. And this record has always been a whole entity for me. And like ever since the CD era, I've always played it straight through in sequence. And I don't think any of his other albums have been like that for me, where like there's a lot of times where like other albums I'll go and be like, I want to hear this song. And so, yeah, I've always seen it as like a total composition. Part of it was like, I was so young when this came out, like I was 10, 11, that my sister taped it for me off of the vinyl, so I had it the whole way through. And I always listened to it the whole way through and didn't have, the vinyl, track markers. And so that's still how I see it, except now I will generally add all the B-sides, together to it and in a playlist. And so I think, I don't conceive of it separately. So I don't really pull apart anything sort of worse than the others. The other thing I do wish, if when they do a re-release or whatever, is I only ever hear the songs in 12-inch versions. Like everything else feels like it's incomplete, especially Kiss. Like Kiss, the short version, if you hear it on the radio or whatever, it's like, what is that? Like it's incomplete. But every one of the songs is necessarily longer, because you're missing something.
Okay. Somehow a whole hour has gone by. There are 3 questions that I really want the answers to, 3 questions I really want unpacked at least before we conclude. So I'm not trying to tell people hurry up or anything.
But 2 minutes.
Listen, I always enjoy the brilliant discourse that goes on. And so we could probably unpack this one question for the next half hour, but I got 2 other questions after this. The question is, Chuck D said, Prince turned off a lot of black followers with Parade, or maybe during that era. This is a quote from Select Magazine from the UK. Prince turned off a lot of black followers. I couldn't understand that. People don't want artists to endlessly repeat themselves, yet they don't tolerate change either. Prince changes all the time, always working on the public's imagination, always trying to keep ahead of them. I want to talk about race. My question is, did the Parade album draw the black audience closer to him or push them further away?
Quick answers.
Sure.
I
know that immediately after
I don't know that it's just race, though, right? Like, I think it's race and gender and sexuality, and that's where Under the Cherry Moon, the movie, comes into play.
Exactly.
It is a performance of black masculinity that is in really serious contrast to what is insurgent and ascendant at the time with hip hop, right? But that is not just about gender; it's also about class, right? You out there tripping in France, and people, just
Talk
like
about
it's a different class. And it was just what was happening with R&B, right? Like R&B was like black yuppie stuff, right? Like we ain't got no problems, so we just singing. And hip hop really had a grit to it that spoke to and was legible to a whole sector that had been excluded and marginalized in pop culture production. And I do think that's real, right? It's interesting that I felt being pulled in that way, and so partly why I'm talking about Mountains in the next panel is the video for Mountains had a black legibility that the other stuff didn't have. Girls and Boys, Kiss, even though, and that legibility was Jerome and the dancers, and they were doing the prep, and they were doing the snake, right? And this was and then there's Africa, right? And I was like, okay, that's my point of entry as a young black person who is now being shaped and formed in a sensibility of hip hop. And so I wouldn't say it that way, but it wasn't just race. It was what people had been forever excluded, in black popular culture. And this was, I was looking for signs that Prince was creating space for that. And Under the Cherry Moon, when I finally got around to seeing it, I was like, I had to see it in a much more mature way to see that it was actually connected and tied, and and the music was too. But in that moment, it was a reactive, like, this ain't what this nigga doing. Like, he out here doing like what?
You didn't get that from Sheridan, Wyoming?
Exactly.
Right, that too. Before any other answers, I just want to toss this in as food for thought, but he was in Under the Cherry Moon chasing after Mary Sharon, who was a white woman, as opposed to Apollonia and Purple Rain. And at the time of this album's release, he was engaged to Susanna Melvoin, who was a white woman, and maybe that was on the mind of the readers of Right On and Black Beat, and maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, and also,
But maybe it
again,
was.
I'm going to go back to the sort of earlier panel, right? Also thinking about the kind of colorism in the film is also, I think, important in terms of how that is working out as well. I mean, yes.
So
I struggle with that question. I think in large part because of some of the things we've already kind of talked about, the kind of the funkiness of the album, to go to something that Rose D'Angela's written about Under the Cherry Moon being the kind of most explicit version of Prince. Right, there was the Purple Rain, the kid, but when we get to Under the Cherry Moon, we can see a particular kind of figure of a black man, right, that is more closely aligned with Prince. And so for me, I struggle with this kind of like Prince's, if Under the Cherry Moon, it also is a film that's right about two black men, as we already kind of know, navigating this terrain of whiteness and wealth in a way that's also not necessarily removed from the kind, to go to your point, but also push back a little bit, right? We think about the class stratification, especially in the Reagan 80s, where there's extreme wealth and there's not. They're shooting a film in the south of France with extreme wealth and then not, right? So it's not as if these two things are totally separate.
And shout out to my presentation coming up. Like, I get to that. Like, I get to that. But I'm saying, in the moment,
okay.
in 1986,
Right.
I'm like, nah.
You're like, nah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
So
I can.
I don't want to talk about the film. I'm going to go with the original question in terms of the album, and I'm going to my answer is going to address it a little bit differently. So I grew up in rural Alabama. You still have to drive 30 miles to get to a McDonald's to this very day, and my uncles and aunt were essentially my sisters and brothers, and they played everything. They played Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Doors, James Brown, P-Funk, ELO, Edgar Winters. I could go on and on and on and on. So I was exposed to a wide range of music, and I just thought music was music. And so my mom remarried, and we moved to Atlanta, and I started going to school in Atlanta, and I realized, oh my God, music is segregated? And so, like, for me, when I was listening to Parade, it was just good music, because that's what I was used to. And then when, especially with the advent of hip-hop, and I feel like that's when, like, radio stations were getting more and more just segregated. And I think, it really hurts my heart when I hear things like that. Like Prince was like trying to get away from his black audience. Like, really? I don't think so. But it was out there. But you hear that a lot, particularly in relation to Parade. And D'Angelo, we just watched a clip. He said it's like the funkiest album ever made. From D'Angelo, and if you take D'Angelo's roots, he was rooted in gospel and and soul and all of that. And for him to say that Parade of all of Prince's albums, to say that Parade.
He said it was his favorite funk album, period. So beyond Prince is P-Funk, is Mandrill, is whoever. Parade is his favorite funk album, period.
So I don't understand the question. So if we're gonna segregate music, I just can't even like get into that conversation. Like I totally like, I just like shut down because like music is not segregated. Music is music. And that's the reason why I loved Prince, was because he could, you know, go with any genre and he would make it sound good, because that's what I was used to. So the more eclectic he was, the happier I was. I was less happy when he was trying to, you know, like when he needed those commercial hits. And I knew that, you know, it's really important for Prince to continue to be Prince. I've said this before. I didn't want him to become Eddie Kane. And you know, like if you watch the 5 Heartbeats, you know who Eddie Kane is. And so I was like, I'm gonna support everything. I would buy records without listening to it. I would go to every single show that I could, because I was like, I want Prince to make money so that Prince can continue to do the art that he wants to do, because, you know, he is just this representation of what a free black man looks like. You know, and it is so important when a lot of us aren't free, and I still don't feel like I'm free, that you have this man who built like the 65,000 square foot complex in Chanhassen, and he was employing all of these people, and we just, I don't know, it's just like a lot of people, let alone, you know, black people are able to do what Prince did. And so that's one of the reasons why I do this work, because it's really important to understand that you can really, you know, like your phrase, you know, like you can raise all the ships, you know, like, yeah, rising tide, I say lifts all ships. Like you can do that, you know, like one person can do that. Like one person can actually make a difference and really affect a lot of people's lives. And Prince was able to do that. We are still talking about this album 40 years later. It still gives me joy 40 years later. And this is not the only thing that he did. So when you get into like, was he trying to alienate the black community with Parade? I mean, I know you're not saying that, but I've heard this before. I just like does not compute.
Right. Drop. Yeah, no, well said. So for those who want to continue answering this question, they can incorporate it into the next question, but I want to get it out there. I want to talk about Control, not in general, but the album. And I want to talk about, I guess, the zeitgeist of the time, right? So on one hand, many feel Control laid a groundwork for New Jack Swing, that it was sort of a proto New Jack Swing album in a way, that opened, you know, the creative minefield for Teddy Riley to take the baton and do what he did. New Jack Swing naturally controlled R&B radio for like the next 10 years, right? So Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis obviously were responsible for the Control album. Well, on the other hand, there was Parade. Parade had horns, you know, introducing, for the most part, horns into his music, which we hadn't really heard before too much, and orchestrations, Claire Fisher. And Parade was not singular. Parade was alongside the Family album, which had a lot of the same, you know, sort of sonics. And Jill Jones's album, which came later, which had a lot of this, you know, like those 3 albums were in the same mood. And Michael Dean talks a lot about the quantum realm. Like, is there a world where R&B radio followed orchestrations and horns instead of the New Jack Swing, you know, Control model? But I guess my question, well, okay. To go back to the Minneapolis sound, Prince was very used to creating a sound and then having everybody sort of emulate it and follow it and go down that lane. And in a sense, that's not what happened here. You know, we didn't follow, or the sound of the time didn't follow Parade. It followed Control. So, you know, the question is why, but nobody really can answer that. But I just want to throw out this idea to unpack for the panel.
I mean, I think one reason why is economics. It's expensive as hell to sound like Prince, and it's a lot cheaper to sound like a bad copy of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, right? You could buy the drum machines they had, and like you're not going to like think about, you know, Oliver Lieber making like some tepid version of what they did for Paula Abdul, right? And so they're like, "Do you want Janet Light? Like, I'll give you that." And so people were able to do that, and that's why you had these copy of a copy of a copy of Janet for the next 10 years. But to get like a Prince-style arrangement, I mean, because the thing is, like, people didn't even really copy Purple Rain. They copied 1999, right? Because you could get that drum machine, but like nobody tried to make a song that sounded like "Let's Go Crazy,"
Right.
Because you couldn't do that. So the further you got from Prince alone in his bedroom, the harder it was to copy. And I think, like, so it's like, the line Prince said to Morris Hayes when Morris wasn't taking notes about the arrangements, he's like, Morris, are you a genius? Right? If you're not a genius, write it down, right? And so I think that's kind of the same thing, is they're like, well, I guess I'm not a genius, so I'm going to have to write it down. And so I think like that's just like economics and capability, but also freshness, right? And like the whole punk funk reaction was to, we don't want to have a horn section. So Prince went there because he's like, this is sonically new to me. But I think everybody else was like, I'm not trying to be Earth, Wind, and Fire. Right. I'm not going to go back to having a horn section. So I think there's just a really strong like reaction to like, I can't arrange that even if I wanted to, but also I'm trying to be with the new. But to me, like the 1986, like the continuum on one end is Control and the other end is Rapture. Right? Like those to me are the bookends of what's possible. And Prince, like, everybody loved him, so they're listening to really Kiss, because, like, the rest weren't hits. But nobody was like, we're trying to mimic that. But, like, Rapture had a lot of hits, and Control had a lot of hits. And so people are like, maybe these are things we can do. And that's where people looked to for, and then eventually Whitney, like, that's where the next, like, series of successes came from. But people were done, at that point, pretty much copying Prince.
I think Parade was also kind of, in that timeline, kind of out of its time for people. I think people came back to it, and whatever we call neo-soul or kind of more avant-garde, expansive idea of black music sent people back to that record, right? That's why D'Angelo is claiming the record. That's why Jill Scott recently claims the record, right? They see that as part of their genealogy. So maybe it like, kind of submerged to get all that other, while that other stuff was kind of flashing and blinging. And then when that all calmed down, people came back to it.
D'Angelo, could you play that second clip?
Yes.
Please, thank you. Arthur, you had something?
Yeah, if I could say, to dovetail a little bit, because you're right about the spectrum from, Control to Rapture. From a fandom standpoint, when you relate to an artist and you find things about them that you want to enhance for yourself or something, you begin to, emulate in some kind of ways. And it was way easier. Like, I would go to the mall at 15 years old, and I could see 20 cute girls that looked like Janet. I didn't see any girl look like Apollonia or Vanity walking around in camisoles and things like that. But some may have tried. But Parade being and I forgot who said it. I think it was Wynton Marsalis in Ken Burns' jazz documentary. Something about art doesn't find you. You have to find, you have to go to it, And with Prince moving on, and Parade, if we can look at it in the context of being a more sophisticated album, which doesn't necessarily mean that we're dumb. Right. It just means that our ears aren't necessarily ready for this. Like, Zaheer talked about Kiss being the entry point, and that's big, because in a lot of ways, like with the with the orchestration and some of the new types of arrangements with I Wonder You and like. Life can be so nice. but I'm saying it's kind of like, giving a child medicine who's reluctant to take it because of how they feel it tastes. Well, you kind of have to wrap it around something else that tastes good, and to kind of like get it down. And so I think that many of us grew into Parade because we never really left Prince. That's kind of the takeaway. It's like we never really left Prince, Kiss was easy to dance to at the school dance. Mountains wasn't that exciting. It was much more exciting to play New Edition and A Little Bit of Love Is All It Takes or something like that. You know, it kind of stayed within this zone of familiarity, you know, and self-expression. So I think
it's like Under the Cherry Moon or Under the Blue Moon, which was the New Edition album that came out.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yes, could you maybe play this, and then I'm going to follow it up with a question, the final question.
Sorry. What? I don't know why it's not playing.
I must have went to see it maybe 15, 30, 40 times. It is some of the most creative.
I don't know if I can. Hold on, let me try. I'll try.
Hi, this is Jill Scott, and I'm here with Pitchfork. My Perfect 10 album is Under the Cherry Moon by Prince. I am such a huge Prince fan. When the movie came out, I must have went to see it maybe 15, 30, 40 times. It is some of the most creative, thought-provoking, odd sounds, free thinking, incredible musicianship. What Prince and the Revolution, Wendy particularly, what they do with their voices in this album is unlike anything anywhere. I've never heard anything even remotely as good. I listened to Under the Cherry Moon for 4 years in a row. I mean, I listen to other things every now and then, but I listened to that album. Do You Lie? Where it starts out in French, another lover. You need another lover like you need a hole in your head. How poetic, and then the groove and how funky that album is. Christopher Tracy's Parade, just genius musicianship. He showed his royal ass, okay? Sometimes It Snows in April is a ode to a lost friend. Anybody who's ever lost a friend, there's these odd moments of grief. And the way that Prince expressed it musically is so divine. It's perfect. It's eloquent. It's passionate. Love that one. I think about it and I feel emotional because it's that well produced. That is the kind of musicianship that Prince had. I loved that man. I loved him. I'm just very happy that I had the privilege of dancing with him till 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I ever thanked him for Under the Cherry Moon. I don't know why I didn't. Please investigate Under the Cherry Moon. Not only is it a beautifully directed film, but that music, baby, that music, wonderful. Perfect 10.
We love that. We love that.
Hi, this is...
So, final question. Yeah, final question. Wow. The question could take, that's 5 minutes. There's a DJ who says that the low-end theory from A Tribe Called Quest, without that album, we don't have neo soul. He says that Low End Theory introduced chord progressions into hip hop music, right? I feel as though the Low End Theory, with its blending of like jazz samples and mixing it with funk stuff, is not possible without the Parade album. And so the question is Parade kind of the first neo-soul album? But what I really want to do is unpack the connections between Parade and neo-soul that came 10 years later, especially given that we've seen both D'Angelo and Jill Scott sing its praises.
Okay, I'll start, if that's okay.
Yeah,
so, any of the neo-soul artists, if you were to ask them about neo-soul, they hated the term.
Of course.
And it was a marketing term.
Of course.
And it kind of goes back to labeling music. For me, good music is good music. That's the genre for me. Good music is the genre. And so I think that I would say no, to Parade, and I would say no even to Low End Theory as being the reason why quote-unquote neo-soul happened. I think we're missing the whole UK acid jazz scene, which was huge. I mean, it even came over to the States because I moonlighted on Prince when the acid jazz label and Giles Peterson, I was all.
Okay to listen to other things.
Yeah, but for a long time I only listened to Prince. It was actually a huge deal that I was listening to all of these UK artists like Ephraim Lewis and people like that.
Omar, maybe.
I mean, incredible musicians. So for me, I feel like it was more of a return to instrumentation, and it was really because of the UK scene, if anything, I think was the really like soul,
Right.
however you want me. That was huge. It was massive. So I wouldn't point to either of those, Parade or Low End Theory, as like neo soul, personally.
I mean, I think about the Erykah Badu live album and how they open up the whole show playing Miles Davis. If you catch it, if you know Miles Davis, it's like there's this jazz with funk that kind of defines a lot of what was going on, in the genre.
I mean,
if you want to even call it a genre.
Roy Ayers. So, I mean, in addition to the UK acid scene, there was a resurgence. I wish Jason was here now, Jason Orr. There was a resurgence of funk jazz, jazz funk, during that period of acid jazz, like Rare Groove and all of that. I think that is what kind of led to the neo-soul movement. I was playing Roy Ayers like it was a current record. And there were so many compilations, like a lot of acid jazz compilations, a lot of jazz funk. There was like a Master Groove series. I don't know if anyone remembers that whole Master Groove series. It was genius. So I think that led just the return to instruments. It was a little bit of, not a revolt, but, because hip hop, had come in, and I think the low-end theory is important because of the jazz samples and like that bed of just, analog instruments. And I think, that generation of like D'Angelo's and Jill Scott heard that jazz influence, heard the, analog instruments, and also the soul, the soul and warmth, all of those records. And they were like, we want to reclaim that.
We have 2 minutes, though. Actually, it's probably 1 minute. Does anybody else have any thoughts about?
We can go for
neo soul.
I was going to say two things real quick. One is I don't think anything's ever that direct. To your point, I think all those artists would acknowledge they were born in a world that Prince created. Their careers were, right, and like the possibility of doing what they did and changing course from the prevailing winds of the industry was the thing that he invented. Like there were bigger artists in the world when they did what, where their careers were created, but seeing that potential for where they would go, they all saw Prince model at the sort of, formative moments of their career. Sort of being mindful of one more minute. I just want to take a minute, because we're 10 years in on this, to say thank you to D'Angela, because like you have made this moment for us. Like this is something so special that we've gotten to be together on. And the thing I was noticing just on the way in, the design, like the consistency of the design all the way in, every step from when I got out of the train all the way up to here, like every single detail, it was just so moving. And then, these are all, folks that I knew, but like barely. And to be brought, into brotherhood with these people, that's a gift you've given all of us. Just so grateful. Just appreciate you so much, what you do for us.
Indeed.
We say it, but we don't get to say it enough, so just so thankful to you.
Thank you so much. I do it because Prince deserves it.
Right. See, we started the panel with tears. We're ending the panel with tears. Thank you, everyone. Stay tuned for Mountains, I believe, right?
Hang on. I'm gonna let you finish in just a moment, but
That sounded very Kanye-ish.
it's a funny day. You know, I didn't get the memo that we were supposed to wear black and white. So there may be a little bit of angst that's kind of coming through here. It is Miles Davis's centennial birth year, and this is my attempt at being meta for 1986, given that was the year that he began working with me. But we do appreciate you, and we do acknowledge, more than just acknowledge the fact that you have brought us here, giving us incredible opportunity. I have never been published in a music journal. I didn't think anybody cared what I thought and what I had to say, much less University of LA or wherever it was that put me in their journal because of you, or teach in front of an NYU class and actually resonate with the kids that were in there, you know. But with that, I'm going to ask Celie McInnis to come up and say a few words in your honor.
Tribute to my purple southern sister. To my southern sister, this tribute is for you and your love of Prince that has gathered us all here today. And even though you never had a dirty mind, you were always willing to party up in the center of Uptown, as you never were afraid to cause some controversy and be bold enough to run toward 1999 because you understood that red revolution in a royal blue sky could only produce purple rain that allowed us to DMSR the pain away. Your symposiums connected thousands around the world in a day in a virtual parade of purple people because you understood that Prince was and remains the barometer for the sign of the times, yet your positivity and joy in repetition enabled more of us to live, love, sexy while we searched for Graffiti Bridge that was just around the corner. Even though if we took a short break to watch Batman, you continued to conduct us on a journey to find those diamonds and pearls and our love symbol that was embedded deep within us because only love there is the love we make. So we take a moment to thank you for this gold experience that you have given us that has helped us to emancipate so many from the dry reality of those who have no dreams into a holy river of exodus. Thus today we come to bring peace to chaos and disorder for a bold generation, waving the flag of the new breed driven by the new power soul of this powerful generation. You are one of the most beautiful souls in the world, and while I don't have a crystal ball, I know for sure that your days will always be yellow days because cars like you don't pass us every day. Peace and be wild.
Oh my God. Hi, Chuck. This was not in the program.
Amazing D'Angela Duff. I'm wearing black and white in honor of our symposium this weekend. You have taught me how to be a better professional, a better communicator, and overall a better person. Every time I leave one of our conversations, I leave feeling heard and I leave feeling whole. I had no idea all those years ago when you emailed me to help you with the Prince Symposium how big and how intentional and how impactful this community was going to be to others, or even to myself, someone who hadn't really thought about Prince in the way that we do during these weekends of these symposiums. I'm not sure what the universe saw to put you in my life, but you have done nothing but change my life personally and professionally since the time that I've met you. I am honored to help you even the littlest bit every time we have these symposiums, and I look forward to them every year. I love you, and I'm so excited that we had a chance during the symposium to tell you this and tell you how much you mean to us and how much you've done.
D'Angela Duff, I want to say congratulations for this and all previous symposiums that she put on. I have to say that I don't think I would have met so many of the people that I know now or from the symposiums. I think that these events that you put on, you provide a salve to aid the healing that the Prince community has been going through these last 10 years. It's always hard to lose a hero. Keeping his legacy alive, keeping his name in consciousness is more than just a great service. It's truly been a labor of love, and I've been fortunate to have a very, very small part of sharing that experience along the way. But more than anything, you've been a friend, you've been a sister, and you're really an angel for the work that you do. So thank you for always having me be a part of these events, and thank you for allowing me to be a part.
D'Angela, Professor Duff, we are gathered here today to celebrate you. You know, I wrote something, put some words together, and instead of pretending like I'm not reading it or trying to remember it, which I know I wouldn't, I'm just going to read it, if you don't mind. D'Angela, Professor Duff, you are so loved and so revered in our community, and I feel grateful to know you, let alone having had the opportunity to participate with you in celebrating our mutual hero Prince. No one could lend credence to our admiration and obsession the way you do. And you are an inspiration to us all, young heads and old heads alike. You are our fearless leader, sparing no amount of time, energy, or passion in spreading the word about the greatest artist of our lifetime. Okay, of anybody's lifetime. He was the greatest, and so are you. Thank you for everything you do to hold our hero high. I only wish I'd been able to participate more over the past decade. But the future's not far away, and I know I'll be willing and able to join in on a symposium again soon if you'll have me. Congratulations on 10 years of incredible work, D'Angela. You are utterly amazing. Prince forever. Love you.
Boo! I'm here with Lee Christian, who's got some very important things to say. Peace to D'Angela Duff. Peace to the Symposia. Peace to the purple and gold. Oh, peace to the purple community. Peace to the Game Boys, Michael Dean, Seeley McInnis, and Pretty Ricky, R.I.P. Love for one another. Peace and be wild.
Hi, D'Angela. It's Crystal from the streets of Minneapolis at a place that probably looks very familiar, Washington Avenue and 5th Avenue, where this Prince mural is, not too far from Bunkers. But thank you so much for all your hard work and your commitment to keeping us all together and preserving the legacy of Prince in the ways that you do. Someone just asked the question, where does love go when someone passes? And I'm pretty sure yours has gone into creating such a dynamic and beautiful community. So thank you so much. And of course, really special thank you from this Prince.
Hey D'Angela, it's Duane. Want to say thank you so much for all you do for Prince's legacy, the symposia, and all the work you do behind the scenes that people don't even know about. Your work really does stand out. You help us understand, give us context, put things in perspective, and it really is something that I wish happened more often. But that's why you're so special, and that's why we all love you, because of all the work you do, both privately and publicly. Thank you so much. Keep it up, and please keep doing this for years. We love it.
Hey, D'Angela, just wanted to take a moment to say congratulations on 10 years of your incredible symposia. And I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing me along the journey. It has been such an honor to be part of the symposia these last few years, and even more so to have the opportunity to be in community with people who love Prince's music as much as, or even more than I do. I love the opportunity that I've had to nerd out with so many amazing, brilliant humans, and you are the reason that we're all together. Thank you for leading the charge, for helping keep Prince's legacy alive, and for including all of us in this amazing journey. Congratulations on 10 years, and happy I Wonder You 40. Mwah. Thank you, D'Angelo. We love you.
Hello, D'Angela. This is your British funk correspondent, Casey Rain, coming to you live and direct from the United Kingdom. And on behalf of all the UK Purple family, we want to say thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And congratulations on 10 years of doing these events. We all appreciate the incredible amount of work that you put in, year out on these events, both in person and virtual. And it's something that we all across the world look forward to. They are always fun. They're always informative. They always have a great lineup of people, and sometimes me. And truly, it's something that we look forward to every year and really appreciate and respect all the work that you put in. You are doing Prince proud by being willing to do the work. And we all appreciate all the work that you and your team put into these events. So thank you, and looking forward to seeing you in New York.
Hey, Professor Duff. You know, everybody's making videos for you. And when Celie asked, of course I was like, yeah, I'm definitely making a video, because I've always said you were a great producer, a fine producer of these programs. You don't like to consider yourself a producer, Professor Duff, but you are a great producer of What Did Prince Do This Week, and of the symposium, this hard work that you do, that you put in to make sure these symposiums go off for so many years, as well as every Saturday on What Did Prince Do This Week. I applaud you. I thank you. I love you for this hard work. I know what it takes, and I'm sure this community thanks you as well. We're inspired by your stories and your energy. And this is just a video of love. Love you. All right.
Hey D'Angela, Adam Sexton here with one simple thing to say, and it's that Orion's arms are wide enough to hold us both together. I hope you won't forget that moving forward. In all seriousness, thank you, D'Angela, for 10 years of joy. You have literally changed my life as you've changed all of our lives. Thanks.
Yo, this is Ted from TED Talks Base, and I gotta let you know that the arms of Orion are in fact not wide enough to show my appreciation for Professor Duff and the work that she does with the What Did Prince Do This Week podcast, the symposium, and everything, her involvement in everything surrounding Prince and his music for the fans. I met D'Angela through my dear friend Ricky Wyatt, long live Pretty Ricky, and through her I've met so many other wonderful people who I now consider family, and I know that she shows up to do this work when she's happy, when she's sad, when life is good, when life is not so good. She's doing the work. And so, do the work. Michael Dean should be here with the sound effects. But Professor Duff, I appreciate you, as does everyone, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this Purple family.
Hi, Professor Duff. Andrew Scott here from a snowy Toronto. I just wanted to thank you for your great organizational acumen, your scholarship, and the infectious enthusiasm that you bring to all things Prince, and the tremendous work that you do to make the annual Prince Symposium so informative, so collegial, and generally awesome. You are an amazing curator for Prince scholarship, and given that 2026 is the 10th anniversary of the symposium, credit to you is most certainly due. Wishing you all the best, and I hope to see you very soon.
D'Angela, in order to create and sustain this project, which has been such an important part of Prince's legacy, you have to be a person who can sustain a commitment to something that some people might view as a bit strange, unimportant, or even a waste of time. You have to be able to keep on keeping on, even when the interests of others, whether individuals or institutions, may appear to fluctuate. And in an era where people can achieve prominence and financial rewards for doing much of nothing, you have to have a sense of history, a belief that the work that you are doing is important, independent of the amount of acclaim or recognition that it may receive in a given period of time. D'Angela, your symposia have been a success because you have all of these qualities and so many more. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Chris Bournea. I just want to say a huge thank you to D'Angela for all you do for your tireless hard work and passion to preserve Prince's legacy. Thank you for the symposia. Thank you for the weekly What Did Prince Do This Week book club celebrating Duane Tudahl's brilliant books. And thank you for all your sacrifices of your personal time, energy, and resources to provide spaces for us to ensure that Prince's unparalleled artistry and creativity will endure for generations to come. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you and we celebrate you.
Hi, D'Angela. Love you. Thank you for being such a bright and beautiful light in this world ever since the day that I met you. You have cultivated a Prince community like only you could. You make us better people, better Prince lovers, better Prince scholars, and I hope you have every assurance that long after we're gone, your Prince legacy will live on. So I hope today wraps around you like a big hug and just reminds you of how grateful we are, how proud of you we are, and how much we believe in you. Thank you. Again, love you.
Hey, D'Angela, this is Michael Dean, duh. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your world, being on the podcast with you, introducing me to a lot of great people. Where else can you go where you can meet some educated Black folks who love Prince? So I just thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your world. You know we love you. And just thank you once again. You, actually, I got to go to New York because of you, coming to the symposiums. First time I ever came to New York, dream come true. So just thank you again. We love you. We celebrate you. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Hi, D'Angela. Edgar here from the Netherlands. Thank you so much for hosting all these wonderful symposiums throughout the years. And especially, for me at least, the virtual symposiums, because that gives me and millions of others, well, millions, maybe thousands of other people from all around the world, the chance to participate and to watch and to discuss. And you're the glue holding an entire community together from all over the world. And that's what I love about what you're doing. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
I first met D'Angela when she asked me a question that no human being has ever asked any other human being. Hey, would you like to do a talk about the Rainbow Children? I was delighted, as I know all of you have been, every time D'Angela has asked you to talk about an obscure Prince song or a really famous Prince song in a new way. She's brilliant at knowing every single element of the Prince catalogue, every side project, every single, every 12-inch, every video. Her knowledge is second to none. And she creates this community for all of us to come together and keep celebrating Prince. And it's just such a wonderful thing that she does. And I'm really proud to be part of it and very grateful that she's come into my life.
Hi, D'Angela. I am so grateful and honored to honor you for all this amazing work that you have done to uplift the name and legacy of our dear brother Prince. The way you nurture this community, the intention and creativity and thoughtfulness, the uniqueness, the care, the passion, and most of all, the love that guides this work. You constantly astound me with the energy that you bring to this, that you have nurtured this community for 9 years now. It was 2017 when I was fortunate enough to enter your orbit, and I am grateful and honored that you continue to invite me to crash the party and run my mouth. And it's been a beautiful ride, a ride divine, if you will. And I just don't think there's anyone like you. I wonder how you're able to do it and continue to do it. But I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of this community. I thank you more than anything. Prince has given us so much, and he's given us each other. And I'm grateful to call myself your triplet. And let's keep this party moving. Thank you. I love you.
D'Angela, my dear.
There are not enough thank yous in the world to show my gratitude for you and every single thing that you do every single year for the love of Prince, for the love of us, for the love of the community. You are just so tremendous in the way you lift us all up and you platform all of this great thought, leadership, and art and community. And I personally am deeply I'm in deep gratitude for you allowing me space to celebrate my favorite album. I think I can say that. I think it's my favorite album in this way. So thank you so much for just being incredible and fastidious and whatever other $10 words we can think of. You were tremendous. You were so gracious. You were kind. You are deeply patient with all of us. So thank you so much. Continue being the amazing human that you are. And I'm looking forward to celebrating with you. Yay!
Tribute to my purple Southern sister. To my Southern sister, this tribute is for you and your love of Prince that has gathered us all here today. And even though you never had a dirty mind, you were always willing to party up in the center of Uptown, as you were never afraid to cause some controversy and be bold enough to run toward 1999 because you understood that a red revolution and a royal blue sky could only produce purple rain that allowed us to DMSR the pain away. Your symposiums connected thousands around the world in a day in a virtual parade because you understood that Prince was and remains the barometer for the sign of the times, yet your positivity and joy and repetition enabled more of us to live, love, sexy while we search for graffiti bridge that was just around the corner. Even if we took a short break to watch Batman, you continued to conduct us on our journey to find the diamonds and pearls of our love symbol that was embedded deep within each of us, because the only love there is the love we make. So we take a moment to thank you for the golden experience that you have given us that has helped to emancipate so many from the dry reality, from those with no dreams into a holy river of exodus. Thus today we come to bring peace to the chaos and disorder of a bold generation, waving a flag of the new breed driven by the new power soul of this powerful generation. You are one of the most beautiful souls in the world, and while I don't have a crystal ball, I know for sure that all of your days will be yellow days, because cars like you don't pass us every day. Peace and be wild.
Long because I want you to have a bio break, and also it's not about me, it's all about Prince. I do this for Prince. It just really quickly, Prince is the reason why I'm still here. He gave me something to look forward to when I didn't want to look forward to anything. He has been my anchor to this world, and the reason why I do this work is, especially in dark days like we are right now, is that you need to have something to hold on to, and I'm hoping that some of our younger people can hold on to music, because music is becoming very weird and very strange with AI and all of that. Real music by real musicians, it feeds your soul. Music is medicine. Music is everything. It's all about Prince. But thank you so much for acknowledging me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So let's get this body break going on. Move your bodies, get some water, hydrate. And I think we're supposed to get started at the top of the hour. And I don't even know where we are in terms of time.